All right, y'all. So we're going to talk about your rate of change notes, and this will be the second day of notes for this week. So rate of change notes are actually super duper simple, and they are all using your calculator. You can do it. Desmos does not. It's not really user friendly for this. So I am going to use just our regular TI-84 calculator, but you can also do this by hand using the calculator for just the calculation part. Okay. And I'll talk about that for this. Okay. One thing we need to know first and foremost is that rate of change, okay, is a ratio that describes on average how much one quantity changes with respect to another quantity. All right, y'all, rate of change is simply a fancy phrase for slope, because that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be doing the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So rate of change is just a fancy word or fancy phrase for slope. That's it. Okay. And it's no more difficult than slope. That's what I want y'all to understand. So it's super duper easy. The only difficulty is the wording. Okay. So when I see this entire table, a lot of times we're going to go to stat edit and we're going to type our table in, but I don't need you to do that. This table shows the tile surface area, how the tile surface area changes with the number of floor tiles. They want you to find the rate of change from the interval 6 to 9. So when you're doing this, they don't want you to use all three numbers. They only want you to use what is given. Okay. So when I do 6 to 9, these are my Y's, these are my X's. So if I'm using these and I want to do this by hand, I'm going to do Y minus Y over X minus X. Okay, and I can do that by hand. So that's going to be 96 minus 144, which is going to give me negative 48. And then 6 minus 9, which is going to give me negative 3. And then negative 48 divided by negative 3 is going to give me a positive 16. Okay, so my rate of change is just 16. Okay, the one thing about rate of change is you always want your denominator to be 1. So even if it gives me a decimal, whatever it gives me is my answer. And I'm going to show you real quick where else we can do that. If we go to stat edit, L1 would be 6 and 9. L2 would be 96 and 144. Okay, so I put in what I want, 6 and 9. And then I'm going to hit stat calc 4. And there it is. A is my rate of change of 16. Okay, and what does that mean? Well, remember your top is your Y number. So this is the surface area, the area per tile. So it means we cover 16 square inches per tile. And this per whatever, that's going to be very important in rate of change. Okay. All right, so here's what I got. Rate of change and your slope calculator steps. Same thing. L1, L2, put your X's in L1, put your Y's in L2. And y'all, you can do this on the phone one too, okay? So literally it's the same thing. You would hit, let me zoom out a little bit. It's still in my case, so you just have to deal with that for a second. Okay, you'd hit stat right here, edit, L1, L2, and then it's still stat calc and then down to 4. Okay, so that's what we got. Stat calc 4 is linear regression and A is your slope. So that's what we're going to be doing. And like I said, I'm going to use the regular calculator just because it's a little bit easier for me over here on the Elmo. Okay, all right. Find the rate of change from 2002 to 2004. So I'm going to look at 2002 and 2004. So I am not worried about 2006. All right, so Y's are first. So our Y values are going to be 7 and 8.9. So if you're doing this by hand, it'd be 7 minus 8.9. And my X values are 2002 and 2004. Okay, I'm going to put it in here just to show you. Stat edit, 7 and 8.9. 2002 and 2004, stat calc 4, enter. So 1.05 is my rate of change. And what does that mean? It means it goes, there are 1.05 million passports per year. Okay. All right. The graph shows the number of people who visited the U.S. theme parks in recent years. Find the rates of change for 2000 to 2002. So again, we only care about 2000 and 2002. So Y's, if you're doing it by hand, 317 minus 324 and 2000 minus 2002. Okay, I'm going to plug it in my calculator. 317 and 324, 2000 and 2004, 2002, sorry. Okay, StatCalc 4. So 0.286. Okay, so 0.286, or it might just be 0.29. Either way, okay, it doesn't say what to round to. I usually do 2 decimal places. Okay. All right, find the rate of change over the interval from x equals 8 to x equals 16. So you were only worried about 8 and 16. And these are a little hard, so I'm going to make sure we get the same numbers here. So my ordered pairs would be 8 and 16, and my y values, we're going to make that 30 and 55. Okay, so that's what you would be doing. So if you're going into stat edit, your x's are 8 and 16, and your y's are 30 and 55. StatCalc 4. So our rate of change is 3.125. Okay, don't have to make that a fraction. That's just what you want, is to know the rate of change. Okay. All right, 2 to 4. So right here with 2, we'll make that 6. And with 4, we'll make that 16. Okay, so again, you can always do y minus y. So 6 minus 16 over x minus x. Lord, y'all, what my problem is. Okay, so let's go stat edit. If I do 2 and 4 and 6 and 16, StatCalc 4 gives me a rate of change of 5. Okay. All right, now y equals 30 times 1.07 represents the value of stock X years since 1990. What is the average rate of change of the value of stock from 2008 to 2013? All right, here's where the calculator is going to be your BFF. All right. So what's happening here, y'all, is if they want to know, first of all, we need to make sure we read and pay attention to some keywords here. It says X is the year since 1990. So to get our X numbers, you'd have to do 2008 minus 1990 and 2013 minus 1990. Okay, so that's going to give me 18 and 23. Okay, so those are our x's. So those are going in L1. Okay, now for L2, here's where life's easier in the calculator. All you're going to do is you're going to plug that 18 and 23 into the equation. So you're literally going to type 30, 1.07 to the 18th, and 30, 1.07 to the 23rd. Now I want you to see what happens when I do that, okay? So stat edit. Okay, so right here we had 18 and 23. All right, now watch. I'm going to type in 30, 1.07 to the 18th, right? And when I hit enter, notice it doesn't put that in there, it puts its value in there. Okay, and that does one step for you that you don't have to do to the 23rd. And hit enter, and there's its value. I was about to say that first one was wrong. Okay, and then I'm going to hit StatCalc 4 again, and there it is. 8.2 is my rate of change. Now, notice 8.2 is a positive rate of change number, okay? And if you notice, this is growth, so it should be a positive rate of change. All right. So right here, I'm going to notice this is decay. So when I get done with this, y'all, I should have a negative rate of change. Let's see. So since 2000, and we're going to 2010. So 2010 minus 2000. So one of my x's is 10. And then 2013 minus 2000. The other one is 13. So L1 is going to be 10 and 13. L2, remember, we plug it in. Okay, so 2500.87 to the 10th and 2500.87 to the 13th. Okay, so here we go. Stat edit, 10 and 13, 2500.87 to the 10th, 2500.87 to the 13th, and stat calc 4. Notice is a negative 70.7. So that is a negative rate of change because it is decay. All right. Give you a second to look at this one. Okay. So again, since 2010, so my L1 values are going to be 2 and 5. And then L2 is just plugging it in, 12,750, 1.02 to the second, and 12,750 1.02 to the fifth. Okay, so that's what's going into my stat. All right, so stat edit 2 and 5 and 12,750 1.02 squared and 12,750 1.02 to the fifth. Okay, and StatCalc 4 270.64. So that is all you are doing on rate of change, y'all. That's all you're doing.